St John's Grammar School in South Australia is on the site of the original settled property in Belair. It is rumoured there are 2 unmarked graves there. Gustav Adolf Ludewigs was born in Prussia in 1818. His wife, Marie Eleonora Helena Gretschel, was born at Belair on the Caribbean island of Martinique, also in 1818. They married in Hanover Square, London in 1848 and emigrated to South Australia the following year. The couple leased land in February, and by the 25th of March 1849, Mrs. Ludewigs was advertising her establishment for the education of young ladies at Kensington Villa on the Macgill Road. Meanwhile, in the foothills south of Adelaide, Henry Worth had been given a grant of land in 1849. He died in 1854, and the property was purchased by a Mr. Eimer. In 1855, the Ludewigs leased the property with an option to purchase, which they chose to take up in 1857. The first of 2 mysteries relating to the Ludewigs arises here. The naming of Belair is lost to history, but there are 2 theories. One is that the area was named after a surveyor named Eugene Bellairs, who was known to have worked in the area between 1847 and 1850. The second is that the Ludewigs named it after Marie's birthplace in Martinique, when they settled in the district in 1855. As the earliest reference to Belair in a newspaper is from the 12th of April 1858, the matter is probably never going to be definitively settled. The Ludewigs ran a store, and Gustav was appointed postmaster. In addition, they had a few dairy cattle and a small apple and pear orchard. Their life together must have seemed to be progressing well early in 1861. Marie opened another school that year. However, tragedy struck on the 23rd of September, when Marie died at the age of 43. Gustav did not remain widowed for long. On the 28th of June 1862 he married Annie Paddock at Mitcham. Annie had emigrated from Shropshire with her family in 1851. On the 4th of April 1863 their daughter Maria Annie was born. Sadly, just 5 days later, Annie died as a result of complications from the birth. It may have been that 25-year-old Elizabeth Paddock came to care for her newborn niece and remained as romance blossomed, but whatever the circumstances, Gustav's 3rd wife was his former sister-in-law. The couple married on the 15th of July 1863. Following some trouble in 1864, when the new Belair Road was created, which cut off a triangular corner of his property, the Ludewigs departed Belair, eventually moving to Wallaroo about 1866. The property had been mortgaged to John Cornish, who became the new owner. The family had grown with the addition of 4 more children, although the eldest son Elijah died in 1866. Gustav ran a store selling produce and general merchandise in Wallaroo. A fire destroyed the business on the 7th of January 1869, but Ludewigs was insured. Ill fortune continued to dog him, however. He suffered from heart disease, which on the 21st of October 1869 caused his death by apoplexy at the age of 51. But what of the mystery of the Belair graves? It was said that the first 2 wives of Gustav had been buried in his front garden following their deaths. The graves were either unmarked or whatever was identifying them was lost. Bush overtook them and in time their location was forgotten. Newspaper articles in 1933 and in 1954 attest to this. Or the story was also told that it was Marie who was buried there, and the second grave was that of Gustav himself. There is a plaque on the triangle of land that was cut from the property which tells another version of the story. This asserts that Belair was indeed named by Marie Ludewigs, and that she alone is buried in the lost grave. How this urban legend began is, like most of them, a mystery in itself. If there ever was a grave or 2 on the property, the evidence is that it was not the Ludewigs buried in them. The burial register for the Mitcham Anglican Cemetery records that both Marie and Annie were buried there, and Gustav was buried at Wallaroo. Maybe there were graves for a couple of pets, as some sentimental people are wont to do. Maybe there were a couple of garden beds that looked like grave plots. Maybe there was just a lot of talk. The farm, which had become the property of John Cornish, was sold in about 1876 to a board set up to manage a sanatorium to treat chronic drunkenness. An existing cottage was remodelled into a suitable building for 12 patients, which opened in 1877 as the Home for Inebriates. A two-storey building next to the old cottage was added in 1883. It was renamed Hope Lodge in 1893. The retreat had a dismal record for curing alcoholism. Only about 5% quit the bottle, and it closed in 1906. The building stood empty for about 30 years. During this time, two spinster sisters, Dorothea and Caroline Yateman, lived in the cottage. Possibly during this period of abandonment, the story of graves existing near the derelict old building gained traction. In 1941, the Anglican Church purchased the building, renovated it and opened it as a retreat in 1942. It was used as a retreat until 1998, when St. John's School took over the site. In about 1967, a building known as the Gustav Cottage, presumably the former home of the Ludewigs, was demolished. Who knows? Maybe the graves are there waiting to be discovered one day and returned from the dark corners of history.